Thanks for joining us.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast. You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today, we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And we're back. It's always great to have Jack Ciattarelli, former assemblyman. He's run for governor in New Jersey, almost made it last time. I think he's going to make it this time around. But welcome back. First of all, mazel tov on your victory a number of weeks ago.
Well, thank you, Zev. I'm very, very pleased with the outcome, obviously. But most importantly, the margin of victory demonstrates that the Republican Party is united. We still are the minority party in New Jersey. That doesn't mean we can't win, but we're in a better position to win when we are united, and we are.
I want to get your reflections. New York City, people say it was an upset. I'm not really that surprised, but Mamdani won by a comfortable margin, even though he'll be declared in a couple of days. And I think it's good for the New Jersey gubernatorial race. You may get a whole bunch of people moving to New Jersey between now and November.
Hey, the conventional wisdom was that Cuomo was going to run away with it. I just think there's a lot of Cuomo fatigue out there. But listen, this is a guy that has been insensitive to Jews. And we know there's a lot of concerns about his approach to solving our problems. So if there's any people that want to get out of Dodge, we welcome them in New Jersey.
Well, I think you're right. You may have a whole bunch of people. I've heard there are real estate brokers that are looking for people to sell, that are looking to sell, to move to New Jersey or elsewhere. So you might be a beneficiary of that.
Listen, his approach is not going to work. We need a more common sense approach. And we also need, in this day and age, a bridge builder. Again, this is a guy that has really, really offended the Jewish community. We've got 600,000 Jews that call New Jersey home. I'm sensitive to what their needs are. No candidate has spent more time in the Jewish community than Jack Ciattarelli. We have a rabbi as part of our inner circle. We're in connection with all New Jerseyans throughout the state, and in particular the Jewish American community.
Before I get to New Jersey, what I found interesting, the leadership in the Jewish community, especially the Orthodox ones, supported Cuomo. But I got lots of calls, especially from women, which I was surprised, in the Haredi community, that said they cannot vote for Cuomo under any circumstances. So I said the leadership said one thing, but the rank and file could not pull the lever for Cuomo despite the challenges that Mamdani poses for the Jewish community. I found that very interesting.
Well, I just felt that, before you run for office, if you need to rehabilitate your reputation and your image and your connection with the community, do the rehabilitation first. He didn't.
No, absolutely. Now, there's also a difference in New York and New Jersey. The Republican Party in New York is very weak. They don't really support the candidates like they should. New Jersey is different. So even though Republicans are the minority, I think you have a much better organization in New Jersey than you have in New York City. And New York State.
We really do, but it all starts at the top. And one thing I've preached from the very beginning is, as the minority party, we don't win unless we're unified. And that message really, really resonated all throughout the primary season. But as you know, Zev, here in New Jersey, we do win governor races. Republicans have won 6 of the last 11. I thought we were going to win it in 21. We came so close, but I really feel good about this year's election. We're going 7 for 12.
Well, I think there's a good shot now when people look over and see in New York you have a socialist who represents a Democratic Party who's in power, and really you have AOC and the Rashida Tlaibs and others that represent the Democratic Party. People might be saying, you know what, maybe it's time for us to bring a Republican into power. So that, I think, could resonate well even in New Jersey.
Zev, I will tell you, as I go around the state, the feeling I'm getting, I'm not just getting from Republicans and unaffiliated independent voters, it's even moderate Democrats who have had it with all these crazy policies. We're going to get things back to normal, fix things here in New Jersey. We've got an affordability crisis, a public safety crisis, a public education crisis, overdevelopment in some of our suburban communities, and our monthly electric bills are going through the roof because the Democrats, including my opponent, have bet it all on wind, which was never going to be able to meet our energy needs.
Absolutely. And they're talking about putting more windmills in New York, which is certainly the wrong way to get this problem solved. Now, we all know that the president took a gamble and he bombed the nuclear reactor, 3 nuclear reactors in Iran. Now, what's fascinating is I heard some from Democrats and from the media saying, well, before he bombed it, they said, well, Iran doesn't really have nuclear capability. And now once he bombed, they said, well, he didn't get all the nuclear weapons. So I found it to be amazing, right? You probably noticed that.
I trust Israel's intelligence agencies, which has reported that we have set back the Iranian nuclear capability years by what was done here. So I applaud the president for his action. I applaud him for standing up for Israel. And listen, they started it, Zev, on October 7th, did they not? This is a sovereign country that has every right to rid the region of terrorists who wish evil upon Israel and want to end Israel as a state. They have every right, the state Israel does, to protect its citizens. So I, along with the president, stand strong with Israel.
Absolutely. And by the way, people don't realize that what happened October 7th was Hamas was supposed to be the first wave of terror against Israel, followed by Hezbollah, followed by Iran. Iran paid and coordinated. Maybe they didn't know the exact date of the Hamas attack, but they certainly were part of the planning, certainly part of the financing. So they were hoping they were going to destroy Israel. They just found some documents to that nature as well. So this was a war against Israel from Iran, Lebanon's Hezbollah, and of course, Hamas in Gaza.
Right. And Iran has provided safe harbor for terrorists who want to see an end to Israel. So, back here at home, Zev, I support the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. I also want to make it not just a resolution, but true law, put some teeth behind it for those that engage in any form of anti-Semitism. And disappointingly, this past week, the Democratic legislature in the state here in New Jersey pulled the bill to once again adopt the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism and put some real teeth behind it. My opponent has been not at all supportive of the Jewish people or the state of Israel. She's condemned the president every time that he's been in support of in support of Israel. So there is a stark difference between us two when it comes to the Jewish communities all throughout New Jersey.
Now, by the way, I thought Josh Genheimimer was going to win the Democratic primary. He's certainly a strong supporter of Israel. I think it would have been more of a challenge for you going up against Josh Genheimimer than against Mickey Sherrill.
Quite frankly, we were on a number of panels throughout the primary season, and we share a lot of the same views. And he knows how to get up and down the state. My opponent is someone who supported Joe Biden's open border policies. She voted no on the Lake and Riley Act. She supports sanctuary cities and us being a sanctuary state. She supported all of Phil Murphy's failed policies. And most recently on CBS News, telecast across the nation, she couldn't answer the question as to what she would do on day one to fix New Jersey. So we're going to get after it these last 4 months. We're going to make our case, and I believe we're going to emerge victorious.
By the way, Patterson, New Jersey, pretty much declared itself a Palestinian state. So I know it's not typical of New Jersey, but it's frightening and dangerous when I see what's going on in Patterson.
Zev, words matter. And this is the issue with this new Democratic nominee out of New York City. I mean, with Intifada, he's shown an insensitivity to language that's offensive to Jews. It fuels hate. Words matter here, particularly in these very polarizing times where there's danger throughout the community. I have Jews in New Jersey that don't feel safe. That's not the state I want to be governor of. Every citizen of this state deserves to feel safe.
Absolutely. When he says globalizing Intifada, he said it means it's a good thing. When I speak to him, I'm supposed to interview him at some point. I'm going to ask him, what about globalized the pogrom? Must be the same thing. But he's glib, and that's part of the problem. You have glib elected officials with no experience that capture the imagination by saying free lunch, free dinner, free buses, free supermarket, free Palestine. People just hear the word free, they don't even know what it means, and they gravitate towards that.
Right.
Especially with the young people.
Yeah. We need politicians today who are going to address the hate head on, not tolerate it. Shows zero tolerance for it. And again, words matter.
How do you reach out to the younger voter? Because he seemed to have captured a lot of the young progressive, but young people. And I think that's really a key. It's a more challenging thing. How do you reach out to them?
With a message that says, listen, I want you to feel confident New Jersey is a place where you can achieve your American dream. And here are the policies I'm going to put in place to help you do that. For example, first 2 years out of high school, if you go right into the workforce, you'll pay no income tax in your first 2 years. First 2 years out of college, if you return to New Jersey, stay in New Jersey, first 2 years in the workforce, no income tax withheld from your pay. This will help you get going. If you're a first-time home buyer, we're going to freeze property taxes at 1% of the assessed value of the home. These are things that we can do to help people get started. Certainly, I'm going to support public education, which has gotten way too expensive in New Jersey. I'm going to support the community college system, which I think is the best value proposition there is. And we're going to create jobs here. We're going to grow our economy. So New Jersey is a place where you can achieve your American dream, whether it comes to the great education, great job, starting a family, starting a business. Those are all the things that young people want to feel confident about. That's my job.
We spoke to Whitney Tilson, who's running for mayor of New York. He had said an interesting idea. In Australia, it's mandatory for people to vote. If you don't vote, they give you, like, I think, a $20 fine. I think that's too small. But what about mandating? If your governor mandating that you have to vote, otherwise you get fined, that would maybe help the New Jersey coffers.
Hey, listen, I'm always open to new ideas, Zev. I'm planning right now my next trip to Israel. We went back in 21 when I was running for governor. We're going to go back again in mid-August here. And one of the things I love so much about Israel, as you know, is all young people have to serve in the military. I think that's great in terms of making sure that people understand the importance of defending one's homeland and just enhancing nationalism across the country.
Well, I mean, some people have proposed, my wife keeps talking about the fact maybe there should be some sort of, maybe not military mandatory service, some volunteer service where you do good for the communities, whether it's serving in hospitals or old age homes or shelters, whatever it might be. So people should be part of the system by giving back to our great country.
Absolutely. And we know, in Kennedy, it was the Peace Corps, right? And we talked about what Israel does, but I like that idea as well. But we need people to be civically engaged and understand that we strengthen our community by somehow, some way participating in strengthening our community. Don't be an innocent bystander.
Jack Ciattarelli is our guest. He's ran for governor and he's running again this time around. So reaching out to the Jewish community, what are your plans between now and November 5th?
Hey, we're going to spend time in Teaneck. We're going to spend time in Linden. We're going to spend time in Jersey City, Toms River, Jackson, Lakewood. That's where New Jersey's Jewish community is. And we're going to talk about the issues that are most important to them. First and foremost, people feeling safe in the community. Second of all, adopting the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. But in those communities, what's equally important, Sev, is school choice school vouchers. The voucher systems we've seen in places like Arizona, Ohio, Florida, are really, really important to members of the Jewish community who use private schools. I'm all for it. What a lot of people forget is how much more expensive would our public school system be if in places like Lakewood, if all the Jewish families sent their kids to public school instead of private schools. So I think it's a fair approach to providing a voucher system that helps offset the cost of private school tuition.
How possible is that? Because I know we've been talking about it for years. It'd be a great boom because whoever goes to yeshiva or Catholic school, really saving the state millions of dollars that they have to pay for their education.
Absolutely. And I'm really all about the numbers. I mean, I was a Republican that voted for a controversial busing plan in places like Lakewood because 24,000 of the 30,000 K through 12 students go to the private school. So a unique challenge needs a unique solution. We came up with one that made sure everybody had busing, but saved tax dollars. So I need to educate New Jersey about the fact that in some communities, like our Jewish communities, who predominantly use private schools, they're actually helping keep down the cost of the public school system.
Well, that's like a big, big issue. I know, especially in Lakewood and Teaneck and other areas, it's a double taxation. You're not taking the benefit of whatever education you can get going to public school, which I know in New York is about $30,000 a pupil. I'm not sure what it is in New Jersey. It could be something very similar. So not only you're not getting that $30,000 benefit, but you're also paying in tuitions double taxation. So there has to be some relief for these yeshiva parents.
Absolutely. I mean, New Jersey is the highest taxed state in the nation, and the way our funding for public education works, I mean, property taxes pay for the local school. Your income tax is paying for schools in places like Newark and Camden and Atlantic City, and I'll fix that too. But then your pocketbook is paying for your private school tuition. You're actually paying for schools 3 times. One of the reasons why we have an affordability issue in New Jersey, we got to solve that.
Now, I spoke to you off the air about another time. There's a Dr. Gross, a dentist, who's on trial for defending a person being beaten up by a pro-Hamas supporter in a rally. There was a Israel real estate event in New Jersey, and some of these pro-Hamas demonstrators started beating a Jew. This dentist stopped them. He hit them over the head to stop him from beating a Jew. They weren't arrested for beating up the Jew, but he's been arrested for defending a Jew that was being beaten. I know you were involved in that case. I just find it so shocking. We talk about anti-Semitism. This is so blatant, and it's not the only case that I know about something similar to this.
It's blatant, and it's not going to be tolerated, and particularly on our college campuses. What really upset me is when those protests were happening on our college campuses and our Jewish students didn't feel safe. When Phil Murphy was asked about it, he said it's complicated. It's not complicated. If any student has violated university policy, that should be dealt with. If any student has broken the law, they should be arrested. And if any student has done either and they're here on an academic visa from another country, send them back to where they came from. But we're not going to have people feeling unsafe in our state, and particularly young people on our college campuses. Sat down recently at the Rutgers, at the Hillel, spoke to Jewish students about the different types of anxieties they're feeling on campus. And I'll sit down with our university and college presidents to make sure that's not the case.
You mentioned before, by the way, you're going to go to Teaneck and Lakewood and some other Jewish areas. Does that also mean you're going to go to the Catskills? Because a lot of residents in New Jersey go to the Catskills, to the Borscht Belt.
Hey, listen, Zev, I pride myself on going anywhere and everywhere that New Jerseyans want to engage with somebody who wants to be governor and listening. I always say my first job as a candidate and as governor is to listen.
Absolutely. Will there be a Gladco Kitchen in Trenton? If you get elected?
You know, I like to cook, so there'll certainly be a few Italian meals.
Italian kosher is great. There's some great Italian kosher restaurants.
There you go.
But no, listen, I've gotten campaign promises by some of the mayors, which were never fulfilled, by the way, with Gladco Kitchen. But I think you'll fulfill it because you love good quality food.
I do very, very much.
Now, the summertime is a little slower, so it's much tougher to reach out to voters, people's minds, and on the elections. So you have more of a challenge in the next couple of months. Come September, October, it's almost close to election time.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. We've got something that has a captive audience, Evan. We call that the Jersey Shore. So I'll be working the Jersey Shore all summer long, from Cape May all the way up to Sandy Hook. It's a magnificent way to engage with New Jerseyans. We'll be doing that weekend, whether it's right on the beach as we walk the beach line and shake hands, or on the boardwalk.
Will there be debates over the summer between yourself and Mickey Sherrill, Congressman Mickey Sherrill?
I know there's a couple of organizations that are going to try to do that. Certainly, there'll be 2 debates in late September, early October, which are required by law, and I look forward to participating in each one of those. We want to reveal to New Jersey who this person really is.
So, but shouldn't there be more debates? I mean, it just seems like a small amount of number considering everything that's going on.
I agree with you on that. So by the 2 required debates, and then I got to believe there'll be 2 or 3 others that are sponsored by this organization or that organization, whether it's the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce or the Black Pastors, whoever it might be, and I'll be happy to participate.
No, it's certainly so very important. It's an important race, and the thing is, we got to get people registered to vote. That's a beef of mine, and I'm working in New Jersey and New York to get more young Jewish people to get registered. I think it should be mandatory, whether it's public school, yeshivas, that when a student turns 18 years of age, they should be given a voter registration form and said, we're not telling you which party to vote for, but vote.
I couldn't agree with you more, Zev. I mean, that's, and you know, I tell people all along, you really only have 1 or 2 civic responsibilities in life: to vote and jury duty. And anybody that tells me, well, it's their constitutional right, freedom of speech, to not vote, I always ask young people in particular to go to some places like Arlington Cemetery and look at the tombstones and look at the ages of the people who are buried there, people who gave their lives at the age of 21, 22, 23, 25. And we see Christian crosses and we see stars of David, right, in those cemeteries. These are people that gave our lives so that we could have the right to vote.
Absolutely. And I think I wouldn't mind seeing mandatory voting, as I said earlier. Finally, will the President of the United States, Donald Trump, be campaigning for you in the near future?
Hey, he knows New Jersey's in play. He endorsed my candidacy. I'm honored to have that endorsement. He's going to be in New Jersey in the late summer. We're going to get together, and I'm sure he's going to be campaigning for me at some point or another. But he knows New Jersey's in play. He saw how well he did here in 24, saw how well I did here in 21. He can smell a victory, as can I. So we're going to work in partnership to make that happen.
How big of a factor is Donald Trump in the New Jersey election? I know in New York, every candidate was saying, you know, we're going to fight Trump. You know, in New Jersey, how big of a factor is it?
Well, I'll tell you why it's a big factor. First of all, he is our most prominent part-time resident, but also because he's taking positions that are really, really important to New Jersey. He stopped the windmills off the Jersey Shore. Nobody wants those wind farms off our Jersey Shore. He's beaten up on the New York Democrats over congestion pricing. I think that's an egregious money grab. And how dare New York fix their subway system on the backs of New Jerseyans? And the third thing he's doing is looking to quadruple the SALT deduction on our federal tax returns. New Jersey is a high tax state. I'm trying to fix that, but until I do, we want to be able to deduct our state and local taxes on our federal tax return. That lowers our federal tax bill. And I think that's only right considering the fact that New Jersey is a donor state. We send way more in federal taxes to the federal government than we get back. So he's taken policy positions that are really popular with New Jerseyans.
Absolutely. We've got to have you back more often. So thank you for being here with us and continued success. I know it was a big victory that you won in the primary. And I know that the real battle is coming up in November, but I know you're up to the challenge and we look forward to having you back again.
Thank you, Zev. I'm looking forward to it very, very much.
Jack Ciattarelli, he's running for governor on the Republican line in New Jersey. Thank you for being part of our show.
Thanks, Zev.
Thank you for tuning in to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, the pulse beat of the Jewish community.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.